And a very good afternoon, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us today. I hope your Tuesday is going well so far. My name is Sandy Elson, and on behalf of the travel professional community and travelprofessionalnews.com, I want to welcome all of you to the webinar and thank you so much for taking time out of your day to be here with us today. Our host for today's webinar is Flight Center Independent, and our speaker for Flight Center is Lee Zanello. Lee's topic today is clear, consistent, concise. Does your brand have your back? Lee Zanello has been with Flight Center for 13 years and has worked extensively in both the retail side and in training and recruitment. For the last 3 years, Lee has been working with Flight Center's host agency solution for independent contractors, which has recently rebranded as Flight Center Independent. Flight Center has been an active host agency for independent agents for the last 9 years, and it is a large focus for the Flight Center organization globally, with nothing but growth on the horizon. Before we get started, please remember that you are all muted, but we welcome your questions. You can type in your question at any time in the question area you see on the right-hand panel of your screen. At the end of Lee's presentation, we'll get to as many questions as we can. Also at the end of the presentation, both Flight Center and TravelProfessionalNews.com will each be giving away a $50 gift card to 2 lucky agents who have been present for the entire webinar. I'll give you more information about the gift card a little bit later, but as a little hint, you may want to take notes. So let's get right to all of this exciting information about what your brand is saying about you. Welcome, Lee.
Hello, Sandy, and hello, everyone. How are you doing today? Oh, it's just on to me then. All right, excellent. Here we are, everybody, today to talk about the importance of your brand. We're going to be talking about what Flight Center does to manage its brand, giving you some examples of how the company works and very successfully, and potentially some things that you can take away for your own branding as well. And we'll talk about that recent rebrand Sandy mentioned to Flight Center Independent. And one of the things that we want to talk about today is that a brand is much more than a logo. We will get into that, but here you have some of the world's most well-known brands. And we're going to start our conversation around branding with a well-worn topic and a well-known battle of the brands, as it were. We're going to start off by talking about the age-old battle between Coke and Pepsi. We're going to put a bit of a different spin on it now. This is the modern-day branding. And what I'm going to do is just show you what the logos used to look like. And I'm curious if you're feeling suddenly change from one slide to the next here in terms of remembering the classic battle of the brands, especially back in the 80s. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about my story around this brand war and what it kind of did to my family. That makes it sound very ominous, doesn't it? But there's a point to all of this. My family was a Coke family, always had been. We drank Coke all the time. One of my great uncles was one of the, I don't even know what he did, but originally way back in the day, he worked for Coca-Cola, and we would have family reunions at his house. We'd call it the Coca-Cola house because they had everything. They had a shuffleboard, they had a jukebox player, Coke paraphernalia, all the old-timey Coke stuff. We were definitely a Coke family. And then somewhere around the mid-'80s, as most of us will remember here, Coke had a brilliant idea that they were going to go ahead and launch a new Coke. And what this did to my family, it's one of the most amazing things when I think back about the importance of a brand and the attachment and the emotion that can be attached to a brand. My family tried out new Coke, as I'm sure most of your families did as well. I was, I think, 7 or 8 years old, and I trundled off to the store and got there wasn't the regular Coke, so I got the new Coke and brought it home, and my mom said, okay, we'll give it a try.
I think we may have lost Lee's audio. Lee, if you can hear me, we can't hear you. Let's see if we can get him back. Lee? Okay, sorry for these technical problems, folks. Let's see if we can get Lee's audio back online. Hang in there with us just a minute. Okay, folks, we're waiting for Lee to come back on the line. Please hang in there.
Hello, everyone. I think I might be back, and I think the software is clearly run by the Pepsi company, and had the Pepsi
We're so happy to hear you again, Lee. We lost you there
yeah,
for a moment.
yeah. Had the Pepsi company given me a few moments, they would have gotten their dues in just a second here. Sorry about that, everybody. My phone did die on me here, so I'm back. Let's continue on. So I remember exactly where I was because I was sitting there in that moment. My mother had a couple of glasses poured of new Coke in the kitchen. She took one taste and nearly spat the thing out. Hated the taste of the new Coke. And immediately, little 8-year-old me was sent back to the store to ask for the money back, which is great. Thanks, Ma, for putting me in that position, and to buy actual regular Coke. But regular Coke was not for sale anymore, so I picked up a Pepsi. And from that moment on, we were a Pepsi household. My mother was that turned off by the brand, that turned off by the choice to head into new Coke, that forevermore we were a Pepsi house. I'm still a Pepsi drinker. I rarely drink a Coke to this day. And I think that when we, bear with me here, just getting everything back all sorted. When we think back to it, and the fallout of that is, and as everybody knows, is that as soon as Coke lost the new Coke and went back to Coke Classic, they enjoyed more sales than they ever had before. So the new Coke was actually the biggest failure that brought more profits to the company than they'd ever seen, just by going back to something tried and true, and a lot of people returned to Coke. My family was the anomaly in that. And I bring this up because it's important to think about brands and how customers attach emotion and significant meaning to those consumer brands. This is something that I'm sure is not, news to everybody, but before we talk about your brand and the different brands in the host travel agency market, and what Flight Centre has to offer in that kind of space, I think it's important to just rehash why people have such an identity towards these brands. We do live in an age where the brands we consume form part of our identity. And if you don't believe me on this, just a couple of weeks ago, this was printed, how single iPhone users don't want to date someone with an Android. So when you think about people making their life choices, their life partner choices, and having online daters judge each other by the kind of smartphone that they own, it's to the point where you really do identify with the brands that you consume. And if this is maybe, if no one out here listening to this is in the online dating right now, let's have another example that might hit a little closer to home. You go to somebody's house, you're there for a nice meal, a dinner party, and you get into the kitchen, you maybe poke around their pantry, and just think about what your reaction, what your emotion, what your feeling would be towards that person if their pantry looked like something like this, or if their pantry was filled with these sorts of products. None of us are mean people, but we would have a certain connotation depending on what we see in the pantry. We are identified by the brands that we use. And what we want to talk about today is, what is your brand telling your clients about you? When we look at the host travel agency marketplace, there's plenty of brands out there in Canada that service the host travel agencies, and I think they're all each have their strengths and each have their weaknesses. And I'm not here to talk about any of the other brands. What I do want to point out is, when it comes to your consumer, when it comes to the client, the traveler that is approaching you, it's important to think about the brand that you have with your business and the brand that is backing their business, and what does that actually say to that traveler, to that client. And I would put an argument forward that out of all the brands that are available to a host agent in the country, I would say that Flight Centre probably speaks strongest to that consumer. A very well known, very well trusted brand in the Canadian marketplace, and there is emotion attached to it. So we'll talk about that sort of thing as we move forward. And when we're talking about identifying your brand and tweaking your brand, focusing in on what makes you you, we're going to focus on those three key points: the clear, consistent, and concise. So the first thing that we want to talk about is your brand clear? Is it easy for your consumers to assign meaning to your brand? In some ways, Flight Centre, it's almost too easy. People definitely associate Flight Centre with flights, and for a long time, we did struggle with that fact and that idea in the marketplace that people thought we only did flights. Well, we've been in Canada for over 21 years now, and we're very well known now for our cruises, our packages, our holidays, our adventure travel. So we do kind of run the gamut, but I think at the beginning we were maybe just a bit too clear that we sold flights. We were at the center of all things flights. One thing that is, I said at the beginning that I always want to repeat is a brand is more than a logo. And you have to think that your actions define your brand as much as your appearance. So when you're looking at what your brand says about you, what are the sorts of things that you do that people will talk about? Essentially, a brand is something that is completely objective. You can have a logo, you can have colors, you can have a tagline. That doesn't necessarily make up a brand. As much as you can see and touch and experience those things with your senses, a brand pretty much lives in the minds of your customers. Whether they've had positive experiences with you, whether they've had negative experiences, your brand is almost something that you can't control to that extent. You can get it only so far, you can get it in front of their eyes, but you can't control what happens in their mind. What you can try to do is influence what their perceptions are about your brand. So what we're talking about, making it as clear as possible, how can we create a clear image in your client's mind of what you are all about? When we talk about your actions, defining your brand, what sorts of things do you do from a customer service perspective? What sort of experience do your clients have when they deal with you? Is it a very consistent experience? Do they always get something a little special from you? Do you put that forth, that extra effort? Are there things that they come to expect when they deal with you that they can associate with you? So as we think about the brand, how clear can we get your brand in front of people? Think about an Apple store. So this is Apple here in the mall on a regular Saturday. An Apple brand is denoted by the Apple, the Macintosh logo. One could even say the stores are very well branded. All the people in blue t-shirts that you see on the store, they work for Apple. They're there working in the store, the geniuses. The branding is everywhere, the slim, the elegant design of the shop. But when we talk about the actions defining a brand, each one of those people in blue t-shirts has a little machine in their pockets that can take your payment. So as someone is helping you and as you're purchasing your product, you can purchase it from at any point in the store from anyone in a blue t-shirt. And this is as much a part of the Apple brand and the Apple experience as anything else, as the look and the feel of the shop is. And I think that if Apple had set themselves up this way, where you're just waiting in a long line, waiting to pay for your merchandise, I don't think people would have the experience with the brand that Apple would be hoping that they have. So at Flight Centre, we definitely know what our brand is about. And I'm going to talk Flight Centre bigger picture in a moment and drill down to the Flight Centre independent model in a moment. We know that our brand is about our people. We focus heavily on our people, both in our advertising and in our specials. We have shops across the country and over 1,000 people working in those stores. So our brand is definitely about our people. Our brand is about our product. We don't just sell flights, we sell holidays. We have a specialized product that nobody else has access to and offers that nobody else has access to. And our value. We're definitely known as a value brand. And whether that is value meaning the cheapest flights, the best flights for less, or whether that is, I don't care, I want to spend 15 grand on this trip for two, but I want to make sure I'm getting good value for what I'm spending. And I think that what we try to do with Flight Centre is promote that idea of our brand being a value brand, that no matter where you fall on the spectrum, whether you're a backpacker trying to get by on a few dollars a day, or want to spend thousands upon thousands on a cruise of a lifetime, you're going to get value for what it is that you're booking. So we try to make sure that our Flight Centre messaging is around that. And I think we're very successful seeing how quickly we expanded pretty much around the globe, and we do a good job of this. And when we talk about branding, this is a really good opportunity to talk about what we've done with our host agency platform. We've been offering Flight Centre Associates for the last 9 years. We started in 2008, so we're not new to the host agency game, but we are growing our independent offering amazingly. We've put a lot of investment into the program, put a lot of resources behind it. And with all of this new effort, new energy, new resources, new technology that we're putting into it, I think we had an opportunity to look and say, hey, is it time to maybe shift the brand a little bit? What we noticed when we did this is, known as Flight Centre Associates, over the last number of years, the number of people that would still say, oh, I didn't know Flight Centre had an independent agent offering, or I didn't know Flight Centre worked with independents. It was a very common refrain. We were hearing this a lot. And it's because we had labeled ourselves associates. I'm not saying we were the new Coke. It's not that we made a branding error. I think Flight Centre Associates is a solid name, and it's been part of my DNA for many years now. So I definitely have an attachment to it. But I think with all of the renewed focus and energy going into this brand and supporting independent agents, we had a real opportunity to just call the business what it is, and that is Flight Centre Independent. And I think now when we talk about being clear and putting that picture of clarity in your client's mind of what you are all about, I think this is a much more clear term than this one. Even when we were talking to people as they were coming on board, I would find myself having to explain the associates term. We were the only ones using it. So it only makes sense that when we're looking at hiring independent agents in the independent agent marketplace, we call ourselves Flight Centre Independent. And this is just in the last couple of weeks that we've been doing this rebrand, and it's had a huge effect in terms of getting some interest around the program, people asking what's new and us being able to tell them what's new. When we look back up at the bigger brand, Flight Centre has a lot of brands and businesses that operate in leisure in Canada. And one of the things that we're trying to do, and what we've done with Independent and the other businesses, is to bring that attachment back to Flight Centre. So again, creating that clarity, being clear around what it is that you want in your client's mind, whether you want to be an independent agent or whether you're doing business travel, groups travel, or any of our other brands and businesses, the attachment is to that main Flight Centre brand. That's where that clarity is going to come from. That's where the clients and the people that are traveling know us as being about our people, about our product, and about our value. And we want to attach that clarity of brand to all of our other businesses. So for you and your own brand, let's leave the host agency model behind now. I'd ask you to consider, when you look at your business name or your business entity or the business that you put yourself in front of your clients with, what sort of things do they think of when they think of you and your business? What sort of brand do they project? If they were talking about you to other people, what are the sorts of things they would say about your brand? It's more than a logo, it's about what you do as well. Brand clarity, our first C that we're going to cross. The next one's a big one. And this is hugely important, especially if you're going to be successful and grow your business on a scalable matter, as Flight Centre has done in a scalable way. Is your brand consistent? So when we talk about consistency, the little things matter. Font size matters, colors and images, they matter. Have a look at this. I just put this together a couple of days ago. I stole somebody else's, flyer here, and I put Flight Centre on it. And anyone who knows anything about the travel industry can instantly see this is not a Flight Centre brochure. And why I pulled this up, a number of years ago, before we had the tools to give to our agents to allow them to brand themselves with Flight Centre on their collateral, we had all manner of things. And I was digging through my emails trying to find some really old examples. I don't have the image, unfortunately, but a number of Halloweens ago, probably about 6 years ago, someone had submitted a flyer. It was on orange paper. It had black Comic Sans font, the font that is reserved for grade 6 book report covers, and it had all of the October and November deals. And Flight Centre wished everybody a spooky holidays. And it just had nothing to do with our branding whatsoever. And I think the power of working with a brand like Flight Centre is to make sure that your clients recognize it as such. So having something like this, where just Flight Centre is pasted over imagery and fonts and things that don't really fit with Flight Centre, it matters. It makes all the difference between the trust that your client has and whether or not they trust that you run a reputable business. So what we have now is we do have a tool. It's called the Platinum tool. Agents are able to go online and craft their own collateral, and it automatically comes out branded Flight Centre. So you can put together something like a save the date, and it looks like a Flight Centre piece of collateral. You can put together referral cards. This is all really, really sharp stuff, really good collateral that your clients would recognize as being a part of Flight Centre, but it's your information on there. It's your content that you're creating. And again, this is done all by the agents themselves. So those little things matter. The big things matter, and of course they do. The big things are the behaviors, the actions, and most importantly, the beliefs. So this is where we go beyond the color red. We go beyond the specific font that we require for Flight Centre, and we talk about the brand. And I'm only talking about the brand that I know very, very well, Flight Centre Independent. But think about this in terms of your own brand as well. What do you do on a daily basis? What is your relationship like with your clients? And what do you truly believe? Why are you in this business? Why do you get up and do what you do every day? That all ties into your brand. Why do we do what we do? This is our agent purpose. We run an innovative business that guides and helps our agents have the time to build their own profitable businesses. We say this all the time in our business. This is all about us trying to give and free up agents' time so that they have that time to build their own profitable businesses, and giving them that guidance along the way, giving them access to marketing deals and national marketing campaigns and trainings on various product types and systems. this is what we do, this is why we do it. And I think that that belief tends to trickle down. And as soon as someone gets engaged with our business, they don't see us as that monolith of Flight Centre anymore. They see us as really a business that's run very much like a family, business that has caring and support everywhere. It's one of our biggest beliefs, and I think that when you talk to anyone who's a part of our brand currently, one of the first things that they will tell you about is the quality of the support that they receive, and whether that is support from a head office perspective, support from any of the 100 support staff we have across all of the country that supports our shops. They also support our independent agents, and the support and family of each other. This is our belief. And if you can, in your own business, figure out exactly what you believe, what you do, and how do you show that to your clients, it starts to create that consistency that every customer experience someone has with you is going to walk away feeling the same, and they're going to tell somebody else who's going to want to feel and experience your business the way you've made those people feel. One of our biggest beliefs is, and it sounds strange because I know I'm talking a lot about the Flight Centre brand, but one of our biggest beliefs is an agent's business is their own to run. And that means if you do not want to paint yourself red and white, you do not have to. I have here an example of Klondike Travel, one of our successful agents. They are up in the Yukon, and we have an example here of how we've tailored their branding with them so that they can run their own business and still remain Klondike Travel. This is a little bit outdated because it says Associates for Flight Centre on it. We've only been launched a couple of weeks now. But at the same time, when you put their branding on top of a Flight Centre branding, it doesn't look out of place. So we are able to work with agents to kind of have that co-branding, that dual branding, and make sure that you can retain some autonomy within your community or in your town, but then also communicate that you are part of something larger and part of something like Flight Centre. Now, if you don't want to do this, we're fine with that too. Here's an agent that sells herself as traveling the seas, not a dot of red anywhere on her website or her Facebook profile. The only time you would see Flight Centre Independent is on her invoices. And it's just who she's associated with, who she backs her business. But Traveling the Seas is her own brand. And many times we will see agents want to have their own brand in smaller communities or to build their own business, or they have a brand that exists already that has a lot of brand loyalty attached to it. Again, we talked about emotion. It can be emotional if someone just sees their local travel agency suddenly turn into a Flight Centre in the small towns across the country, and we recognize that. So we work with agents, and if you want to keep your own branding, that's absolutely fine as well. And we can help you with sessions similar to what we're doing now over this WebEx to cultivate your brand and make sure that it's as clear as possible and that it's as consistent as possible. So is your brand consistent? It's important to make the right choices. You will have choices to make along the way. New things will come up. You will be able to take your business in different directions. And I think it's always important for people to have a sense of what their brand is, first of all, and then make those decisions to keep things consistent. A couple of questions to ask yourself if a choice that's ahead of you is going to be consistent with your branding. Does this complement my existing brand? The choice that I have in front of me, I can do A or I can do B. Which one is most like what my clients know me for now? Does this create a better customer experience? Putting the customer at the forefront of any of your decisions is only going to benefit and help your business. So running it through that filter of, does this choice make my customer's experience better, will help guide you of whether or not you're making the right choice for your brand. Lastly, it's important to go the other way. Does this confuse my customer in any way? It's okay to be a little bit different. I don't have to be completely match made with my previous brand, but is what I'm doing here going to confuse my customer? Is this the flavor, even though the can of New Coke is red and white, is this the flavor that they want? And I've got a real-time example on this. It's just what we just did with our rebrand to Flight Centre Independent. Have a look at that domain name, fcitravel.ca. So that's the standard email address we have, first name dot last name at fcitravel.ca. And we look at this through, this is a choice. We have to figure out what our new email address is going to be with this rebrand. And we ask ourselves these questions. Does this complement my existing brand? Absolutely it does. I think Flight Centre Independent and FCI, they are terms that we use very regularly. And travel is an innocuous enough term that I think most people would understand it. So I think that it complements the brand. Most importantly, does this create a better customer experience? Now here in the host industry, we're always concerned with two types of customers. We have obviously the end customer, the traveler, and we work hard to make sure that there are systems in place so that that end customer is satisfied that you have the tools as an agent to deliver a great customer experience to them. But we also have the agents as customers. And if you're in the industry, you know how many times you're typing your email address out. It is your login for an airline. It is a login for another system that you have. You're typing your email address out constantly. And it seems like a little thing, but remember that the little things matter. And to type out at flightcenterindependent.ca every time you're doing that, I think that when we look at something as simple as FCI Travel, it definitely creates a better customer experience for the agents that we have with us. Does this confuse my customer in any way? It might. And very honestly, if someone just gets an email from someone at an fcitravel.ca, a customer, a client, a traveler is not immediately going to think Flight Center Independent. So there's a little bit of confusion there. And I'm not saying the answer has to be yes to each of these questions. However, if you can get 2 out of 3 or there's a stellar case for one of them, take the others with a bit of a grain of salt, but at least ask yourself the question, is that confusion worth the better customer experience? And is it worth that compliment that I'm going to be able to add towards my brand? So in this case, we took the chance that confusing the customer a little bit is probably worth the ease of being able to type out the email address. So just a simple example of choices you will face in your brand. Think about it. You're running your own agency. You might be thinking of rebranding yourself. You might be trying to come up with a new brand. Maybe you are just an agent using your own name and you want to come up with a bit of a company name. There's going to be a whole host of choices. Logos, what sort of font do you want? What sort of tagline do you have? How do you want to craft your message? All of those choices, you want to make sure that they're kind of staying consistent with what you have before. So making the right choices, hugely important with being consistent in your brand. And the one that most people have the hardest time with when we get down to actually figuring out what a brand is about and communicating it to a client is, could my brand be more concise? I think we all like to talk a little bit. When we're talking about ourselves and we're talking about our businesses, we get very verbose. We use more words than we need to. I'm probably doing that during this presentation. So, I'm trying to keep it as concise as I can. But could my brand be more concise? I think important to think about what can you trim. You craft your whole message, pour all the words out onto a piece of paper about what your business stands for, what your brand stands for, what your beliefs are, and then cut away at it. Edit, 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 edit. And along this process, ask yourself a couple of questions. What is important to me and what is important to my customer? And I think in the interest of being as concise as possible, focus more on the latter. If what you are saying is going to resonate and paint a clear picture in your client's mind of what your brand is all about, that is ultimately more important than what you want to say about yourself. So what does this look like in practice? When we think back at the Coca-Cola versus Pepsi and have a look at what they did back in the 80s when they were doing that, I don't know how much they actually had a thought about being as concise as possible with their messaging. I think when we look at what we've got to do here with Independent, we spent about 6 months just looking at every reason why someone would want to become a part of Flight Center Independent. And we had pages and pages and pages of material. And we eventually got it down to something that looks like this. And I won't go through it individually. These are our, the main reasons to join us. You can see them there, and that's not the purpose of this. And more the purpose of this is to illustrate the process that we went through. So we came up with our 4 main reasons why someone would want to become an independent. And they're very good reasons. And a couple of them, any agency in the country can lay claim to. The first couple there, the second 2 we think are very unique for us. So we got our whole list down to 4, but we didn't stop there. We cut even more and brought it down to something that looks like this. You're free to go. Earn on your own terms, create your own schedule, access to great deals and agent rates, be a part of the family, and backed by Canada's trusted name in travel. When you talk about a process and what a brand stands for and creating that clear imagery in a client's mind, this is as distilled as it can get. 20 some odd words, and we have what we are all about, with a little bit of a cheekiness as well, with the free to go. There's several, meanings that we attach to that. If you're new to the industry and you're looking to get involved in the travel industry, or you're in a bricks and mortar shop and you're looking to kind of be a bit more flexible and work as an independent, free to go means the world to you, because you can go travel, work from anywhere. To those people who are in other host agencies, you're not being held there with a chain. You're free to go. You can come and join Flight Center Independent. So we had some fun with the first bit there. But really, this is the essence and the as concise as we can get about what our brand is about. And this didn't come easily. As simple as these sentences look, this is about 8 months, all well and told, of what this comes down to. So try and get as concise as possible. So again, looking at your branding, looking at your business, are you clear?
Is your brand consistent? And along the way, make sure you make the right choices. And could your brand be more concise? What sorts of things can you trim? So this is where you have a think about what is your brand. And if you are new and you're looking at maybe you have your own business name right now, or you're looking at developing a brand new business name, a lot of people just have a list and they jot down a list of all these words with travel and different travel puns and different travel words. And my only suggestion is, if you're trying to come up with your own brand, have a think about how you want your customers to feel and what do you want them to say about you. If you start with that end in mind, it becomes a lot more clear to figure out what your name should be. And it doesn't have to be just the latest travel pun off the rack. It can be about the actual experience, about what your customers are feeling, and create your brand from that. And I don't think you'd be going wrong at all. Clear, consistent, concise. And if anybody wants to talk more, you can give us a call. This is what we're doing. I have a bunch of time left here for some questions. And Sandy, if anybody does have any questions or they've had questions throughout, please let me know.
Thank you, Lee. That was really fantastic information. I really enjoyed everything you had to say. I'm also curious, once you switched to Pepsi, did you still have your family gatherings, or was that verboten after that?
No, we did, but we didn't drink the Coke. We didn't. We absolutely still went to the Coca-Cola house, but yeah, we were maybe the black sheep of the family at that point.
I love those stories. You told some great stories. Just a reminder to our agents, if you have a question, now's a good time to type it in. We did have a question. You mentioned that having a Comic Sans font, like every sixth grade book report, might not be the best way to convey a message. One of our agents wants to know if you have a recommendation about what size font and color would be best for attracting attention.
I love it. I mean, the simpler fonts, the better. I tend to use Calibri a lot. It is used largely in our organization. It's what you're looking at right now. It's a nice, clean, very recognizable font. I'm also a fan of white space. You'll see during this entire presentation, with the exception of the beginning, that the white space, if you're doing any kind of logo or design, I think focusing people's attention with not a lot of noise around it, that's something that has worked well for us in the past. So yeah, as for color in a font, I mean, there's lots of psychology around colors. Red is definitely a trigger for consumers. Red means buy, red means sale, red means act now. So there's definitely different colors that trigger different emotions. Might work depending on your specialty. If you're designing a logo or a brand around eco travel, I think the color palette there would speak for itself.
Good suggestions. One of our agents wants to know if an American agent can book Cuba through your company.
Excellent. Yes. So an American agent, I mean, we are travel agents, so you'd be looking at an agent booking with another agent. We have Cuba product because we are from Canada, but I mean, I'm not sure exactly how to answer that one, because it would depend on how the two agents would work together. Because we would typically sell to the public, not another agency.
Okay. One of our agents wants to know, where is Flight Center's headquarters in Canada, and are you thinking of expanding into the US?
Excellent question. Our headquarters in Canada, we've got two head offices, one in Toronto where I'm located and one in Vancouver where we've got another host of fantastic support people located. Into the States, that's an interesting question. I'm not going to speak on behalf of the States, but what I will say, and I started off by saying this, that the independent business in Flight Center is receiving a lot of attention and a lot of growth and a lot of resource put towards it. So it would not surprise me if there was a offering through some of our sister companies within the States before too long.
Okay, great.
I hope I could be forgiven for a lack of detail there.
No, I think we get it. And that's it for the questions that came in already. If you think of a question after this webinar is over, Lee has put up his phone number, or the phone number to Flight Center, so make a note of it, and I'm sure he will be happy to answer any questions that come up or point you in the right direction. So Lee, I think it's time for our 2 gift card giveaways now. As I said at the beginning of the webinar, we have 2 $50 gift cards, one being generously provided by Flight Center and one being provided by us, travelprofessionalnews.com. So the way this is going to work is that Lee is going to ask a question, and the fifth correct answer I see come across my screen will be the winner. And then he'll ask a second question, and the same rules will apply for the second gift card. So the first gift card, Lee, let's give away yours first, since you are our guest. So, and again, the fifth correct answer that I see come across my screen will be the winner. So whenever you're ready, Lee, go ahead and ask your question.
Excellent. When we talked about building a brand and managing a brand, we did the presentation gimmick of doing some alliteration. We used 3 C's. What are the 3 C's of managing your brand?
Okay. We have some answers coming in, waiting for the fifth correct answer. And now we have it. Let's see.
Excellent.
Just make sure I'm correct here. Okay, and the winner of, I'm just going to write down your name here so that we have it. The winner of the first $50 gift card, this is the one being given away by Flight Center, is Alfreda Dockery. So congratulations to Alfreda. You were the fifth correct answer, and we will be passing your information along to Lee after this webinar, and either he or someone on his team will get in touch with you to tell you how to redeem your gift card. And so let's go on to the second question. This is also for a $50 gift card, this one being given away by travelprofessionalnews.com. And Lee, whenever you're ready, go ahead and ask your second question.
And is it the fifth person as well that's going to win this?
It's the fifth person as well. That's right.
This is the easy one. This is the easiest question there is. For 9 years, we were Flight Center Associates. What name did we recently rebrand to? Hint, it's on your screen. Who is the fifth lucky winner?
Okay, we have a lot of correct answers. Our agents, I think, are just figuring out how they can be the fifth one. So let's see who is the fifth one. And the winner of the Travel Professional News $50 gift card is Greg Clausen. So congratulations to Greg Clausen. You're the winner of the second gift card, and we will be getting in touch with you to tell you how to redeem your card. This has been absolutely fantastic. I really enjoyed this webinar. Our host for today's webinar has been Flight Center Independent, and our speaker has been Lee Zanello. Lee, thank you so much. This has been fantastic information.
Thank you, Sandy. Thank you, Alfreda and Greg, and everybody else that joined on. I appreciate your time today.
And I'll add my thank you to our agents for taking time out of your day to join us. I know you learned a lot, and this is real information. It's news you can use, as they say in the news business. So thank you for being here, and enjoy the rest of your day. We'll see you next time. Bye, everybody.